Alcohol, turning mild-mannered humans into headline-worthy disasters since the dawn of hangovers. 1. The man who reported himself missing. Somewhere in Wisconsin, a man got so drunk he called 911 on himself. He claimed he was missing and needed help finding, well, him. The dispatcher, probably rethinking all their life choices, asked where he was calling from. He replied, "If I knew that, I wouldn't be missing." Cops found him minutes later, sitting on his own porch, phone in hand, staring into the abyss of his own stupidity. Socrates once said, "Know thyself." This man said, "Find thyself, preferably before the beer's gone." 2. Bacon double cheeseburger, Eskimo. In Ireland, one man reached the sacred level of intoxication known as bureaucratically brave. After a few too many, he legally changed his name to Bacon Double Cheeseburger. The next morning, he woke up not to a hangover, but to a new identity, one that made HR cry. Imagine introducing yourself at a job interview. "Yes, Mr. Cheeseburger, please tell us about your leadership skills." This man didn't steal an identity, he deep-fried it. 3. The mirror marriage. Vegas weddings are legendary for bad ideas, but one woman leveled up. After several bottles of champagne, she decided to marry her hotel mirror. She gave vows, kissed her reflection, and declared, "No one understands me like me." Honestly, hard to argue. The next morning, she tried to get the marriage annulled from a mirror. Somewhere, her reflection is still standing there, emotionally unavailable and silently judging her. It's the only marriage in history where both sides were equally self-absorbed. 4. The penguin kidnapping. Picture this. It's 2 a.m. in England. A man, gloriously drunk, wanders out of a nightclub and spots a local marine park. Most people at this stage are just looking for fries, not him. He spots a penguin, decides it looks cold, and commits a full-blown rescue mission. He breaks in, steals the penguin, and brings it home like a heroic savior of aquatic life. Next morning, hangover, confused penguin in the bathtub, and police at the door. He swore he was just trying to help. Sure, buddy, because every endangered animal needs a drunk British guy to ruin its night. The penguin was fine. The man, however, had to face a judge and explain why he turned into the world's least coordinated zookeeper. 5. The Taco Bell telepath. Somewhere in Florida, obviously, a woman tried to order Taco Bell through her shoe. For 15 minutes, she screamed, "Hello!" into her stiletto like it was a walkie-talkie to heaven. When the employee didn't answer, she accused them of hanging up on her and demanded to speak to a manager. Her friends filmed the entire ordeal, because of course they did. When asked later what she was thinking, she said, "Well, it's Bluetooth." Bluetooth, as in the wireless technology, the one not invented for footwear. Somewhere, Steve Jobs rolled in his grave while Siri filed a restraining order. If fashion ever meets function, she's the reason tech companies will put a breathalyzer in every heel. 6. The lazy Uber revolution. Australia gave us kangaroos, great beaches, and the sky. A man got drunk, ordered an Uber, not for himself, but for his pizza. He literally paid a driver to deliver the pizza from his own kitchen counter to his couch. The driver showed up, picked up the box, walked 12 feet, and handed it over like a Michelin star waiter. The man tipped him $5, saying, "Best delivery ever." Honestly, it's genius. Lazy, but genius. Economists would call it gross inefficiency. I call it the future of civilization. Why lift a finger when you can outsource gravity? If this man ever starts a company, it'll be called Uber for moving snacks from the counter to the bed. 7. The lost and found woman. Iceland. Cold air, cozy bars, and a bus full of tourists returning from a glacier trip. Everyone's relaxed until the driver announces a woman's missing. Panic sets in. They form search parties, comb the area for hours, calling her name. Around 3 a.m., someone finally realizes something. The missing woman is in the search party. She'd changed clothes, didn't recognize her own description, and joined the manhunt to find herself. She even asked for updates on her own disappearance. When she finally figured it out, she sheepishly said, "I think I'm the one you're looking for." It's the most polite existential crisis ever recorded. Only in Iceland could someone get lost and found at the same time. 8. The tiger cuddle test. New Zealand. Late night. One man, 8 beers, and an idea that fails Darwin's screening process. Tigers are just big cats. He breaks into a zoo to hug one. because what could go wrong with embracing a 400-pound apex predator in the dark? He gets within petting distance, whispers, "Here, kitty," and discovers the tiger did not download the cuddly patch. He escapes with scratches, a shredded ego, and a lifetime ban from the zoo. His explanation to police? It looked friendly. Of course it did. So does a chainsaw when it's off. Nature built hangovers for this exact reason, to remind you the animal kingdom is not a bar-smoking patio. The tiger was fine. The man learned that consent is important, especially from something that can turn you into a chew toy. 9. The Raccoon as legal tender, Ohio. Closing time at a dive bar. A man slides his tab across the counter and with the confidence of a frontier banker produces payment. 1 live raccoon. Worth at least 20, he insists, as if bartenders accept woodland currency. The raccoon blinks like it wants to speak to HR. The bartender declines because this isn't a fur-backed economy, and the man storms out, with his disgruntled collateral muttering about ungrateful businesses. Somewhere in that town lives a raccoon who still wonders why it didn't get tipped. And honestly, if raccoons ever form a union, this is Exhibit A. Lesson learned, if your payment hisses, it's probably not legal tender. Unless you're bartering with a coyote, in which case, get a receipt and rabies shots. 10. The Cheeseburger Cult, London. One woman, a phone, and an app that should require a sobriety test. She drunkenly orders $400 worth of cheeseburgers on Uber Eats, then falls asleep before they arrive. The courier builds a greasy Stonehenge on her doormat, 30 solemn burgers circling a paper bag altar. She wakes to a cold beef seance and the spiritual regret of a drive-through exorcism. Neighbors peek out, wondering if she joined a fast food cult that worships ketchup packets. She claims it was self-care, which is fair. Some people do face masks, others curate a museum of room temperature meat. The moral? Late-night cravings are temporary. Credit card statements are eternal. Also, if you can't remember hitting place order, your kitchen shouldn't look like a McDonald's pop-up shop. 11. The Keynote speaker to his car, Texas. A man tries to start his car with motivational yelling. 5 minutes of go like he's coaching a reluctant mule, then he threatens to fire it. Neighbors hear a TED Talk for sedans. Nothing. He pops the trunk, slams doors, taps the steering wheel like it owes him money. Still nothing. Finally, inspiration strikes. Check the fridge. There, next to the beer, are the car keys. Chilling. Literally. He'd parked them on top of the six-pack earlier, so he wouldn't forget. The car starts instantly, proving machines don't respond to pep talks. Just keys not stored at 4° Siri. It's the perfect cocktail of Bud Light and brain fog. Part self-help guru, part appliance abuser, all lesson. If you're arguing with a vehicle, you've already lost to physics. 12. Frosty the Felon, Michigan. A squad of college geniuses plus winter plus cheap vodka equals civil engineering on trial. They build a snowman so tall it blocks traffic, an icy monolith with button eyes that say, "Call the city." Cars snarl, horns blare, and Frosty becomes a municipal crisis. Police arrive, citations in hand. The student's defense? We didn't think it would work, which coincidentally is also what every bad idea says before it trends on TikTok. They name him Frosty the Felon and pose for photos like proud parents at a sentencing. The city fines them for obstruction. The snowman melts, taking the evidence with it. Their legacy? Proving that enough enthusiasm and a stolen traffic cone can turn precipitation into a crime scene. Somewhere, a plow driver still tells this story like a war veteran. 13. Eco-friendly dumbness. Scotland, midnight. A man, marinated in whiskey and optimism, decides to drive home. On a child's toy car. You know the kind. Bright red, plastic roof, no engine, meant for toddlers. He climbs in, knees up to his ears, and starts scooting down the road like a budget Mario Kart. He makes it a heroic 50 feet before police stop him, not with a chase, but by walking. When asked what he was thinking, he replied, "I thought it was eco-friendly." Environmental awareness? Sure. Traffic awareness? None. Somewhere in Elon Musk's house, a Tesla short-circuited in sympathy. The man was charged with public intoxication, but honestly, he should have gotten an award for the world's smallest carbon footprint. 14. The Canine Complaint Hotline, California. A woman calls animal control at 2 a.m., slurring into the phone, "My dog stopped talking." The dispatcher, immediately questioning every career decision ever made, asks what breed it is. Golden Retriever, she says. Obviously, he's just mad at me. The twist? She doesn't even own a dog. Officers arrive to find her petting a throw pillow and apologizing to it for shutting down emotionally. Somewhere, the pillow forgave her. It's stuffed with empathy. She was gently escorted to bed, proving that when drunk, loneliness can sound a lot like barking. At least she didn't call 911 to report a silent goldfish. 15. The Noodle Grenade, Japan. Land of precision, honor, and occasionally drunk microwave warfare. A man, deep into his Seikei enlightenment, tries to reheat instant noodles without adding water or removing the lid. The result? A noodle brick of compressed rage detonates inside the microwave, blasting ramen shrapnel across the ceiling like culinary confetti. He stares at the mess and declares it a learning experience. Yes, the experience being that microwaves aren't wizards. The explosion leaves his kitchen smelling like betrayal and soy sauce. When asked what he learned, he said, patience. Somewhere, Gordon Ramsay screamed so loud it registered on a seismograph. The only miracle? He didn't burn the house down, just his pride. 16. The Aquatic Taco Quest, Canada. A woman, several margaritas deep, decides she needs Taco Bell. The problem? The nearest one is 50 miles away, across a lake. So she steals a kayak. No life jacket, no plan, just pure burrito-fueled ambition. She paddles into the night like a tortilla crusader, shouting, "I can smell the tacos!" Halfway across, hypothermia shows up as her +1. She's rescued by locals who find her furious, shivering, and still demanding a Crunchwrap Supreme. The police called it reckless. I call it relatable. If Columbus had discovered Taco Bell instead of America, this woman would have been a national hero. 17. The Spider-Man Audition, Arizona. A man, drunk on both beer and self-belief, climbs onto his roof and declares to witnesses, "I am Spider-Man." Physics immediately disagrees. He attempts a heroic leap. Duration, 14 seconds. Altitude, 1 story. Outcome, bush. He lands in a shrub, stands up, brushes off leaves, and yells, "Nailed it!" The neighbors applaud, not for his grace, but for surviving Darwin's midterm exam. Paramedics patch him up. His only lasting injury is confidence. He tells reporters later, "I just wanted to see if I could." You could, buddy. Gravity handled the rest. Somewhere, Stanley nodded approvingly, because every hero needs an origin story, even if it starts with tequila and ends in landscaping. 18. The Drone Pilot Who Fought Gravity, Texas. A man gets a drone for Christmas, plus a bottle of tequila for courage. After enough shots to qualify as aviation fuel, he decides to film cinematic aerial footage of himself. He launches the drone, forgets to move, and the machine hovers in place like an awkward guardian angel. Frustrated, he starts shouting, "Follow me!" like it's a dog. Then he throws his beer can at it for disobedience. The can hits a propeller. The drone plummets, straight into his hair. The neighbors hear yelling, then silence. Then the sound of a man Googling how to untangle propellers from scalp. The FAA didn't need to get involved. Gravity already did the paperwork. 19. The Porta-potty Time Traveler, Oklahoma State Fair. A man enters a portable toilet with a six-pack and dreams of privacy. He reemerges 8 hours later, at dawn, convinced he's been abducted by aliens. His friends find him pointing at the sunrise, saying, "They took me, and they brought me back in the future." Turns out he just passed out mid-flush. The only time travel involved was 8 hours of dehydration. He became a local legend known as the man who returned from the portal. Technically, not wrong. He did step into a blue capsule and come out changed forever, mostly in the dignity department. 20. The DIY Happy Hour Explosion, Massachusetts, where happy hour is illegal. But one man decided to fight for his right to discount drinking. His plan? Open a secret pop-up bar in his garage. He mixed cocktails, took donations, and advertised on Craigslist under the alias Barney Shots. Everything went fine until he tried to impress guests by lighting a flaming margarita. One spark, one ceiling fan, one insurance claim later. His house looked like a margarita-themed crime scene. When police asked what happened, he said, "I was trying to save money." You didn't save money, Barney. You saved the fire department from boredom. 21. The Snowplow Showdown, Minnesota, 3 a.m., middle of a blizzard. A drunk man sees a snowplow clearing his street. Most people would wave. He decides it's a duel. He sprints outside shirtless, wielding a broom like a medieval lance, screaming, "You missed my driveway, coward!" The driver stops, mostly to avoid manslaughter, as the man starts whacking the plow blade like it insulted his family. Police arrive to find him riding the hood, yelling victory. They booked him for public intoxication and aggressive snow management. The next morning, his driveway was spotless. So technically, he won. 22. The Casino Philosopher, Las Vegas. 4 a.m. A man loses $600 at the blackjack table and achieves enlightenment, or what passes for it after 12 whiskeys. He stands on a chair and announces, "Money isn't real." Security, unimpressed, asks him to sit down. He replies, "Neither are you," before attempting to pay for another drink with a crumpled napkin labeled "I owe you from God." He's escorted out mid-lecture about the illusion of capitalism. Outside, he tries to climb into a fountain, declaring he's returning wealth to the water cycle. That's not philosophy, my friend. That's a wet felony. 23. The croissant heist, Paris. A drunk tourist from Ohio decides he can't leave France without an authentic experience. At 2 a.m., he breaks into a bakery through a ventilation shaft, like Tom Cruise, if Tom Cruise wore flip-flops and smelled like Coors Light. He emerges covered in flour, holding 6 croissants, yelling, "I am the baguette king." The baker, who had been working in the back, calmly calls the police. When they arrive, the man insists he wasn't stealing. He was liberating pastry. The judge gave him a fine, and the French public gave him a nickname, L'idiot sucré. Translation, the sweet idiot. 24. The beer-powered lawnmower, Nebraska, summer afternoon. A man gets drunk, looks at his overgrown lawn and thinks, "I can multitask." He duct tapes a 6-pack to his riding mower, turns up the radio, and roars down the street, mowing everything in sight, including 2 mailboxes and part of a neighbor's garden gnome. When cops pull him over, he insists it's not a DUI because, quote, "I'm not driving a car, I'm operating agriculture." Nice try, Farmer Frankenstein. He failed the sobriety test after asking the officer to hold his beer mid-alphabet. The mower was impounded, the beer was warm, and his lawn, ironically, still wasn't finished. 25. The beerboat captain, Florida. Where else? A man gets so drunk, he decides to sail his pontoon boat home across the marina, despite the small issue that he doesn't own a boat. He just hops onto the first one he finds, unties it, and starts drifting away, waving to confused dock workers like he's in a Disney parade. He crashes into 2 yachts, blames a strong breeze, and when police arrive, he tries to flee by swimming, directly into a row of jet skis. The headline the next day, "Local man arrested for grand theft marina, Florida, never change." 26. The DIY tattoo of regret, Australia. A man celebrates his friend's birthday by buying a cheap tattoo gun online and setting up a tattoo parlor in his garage. After enough whiskey to sterilize nothing, he attempts to tattoo the phrase "Born to Ride" across his friend's arm. Halfway through, he runs out of ink and confidence. The final result reads "Born to Rye." It looks less like rebellion and more like a spelling bee crime scene. When they wake up the next day, his friend's only words are, "We have to finish it." They don't. Years later, "Born to Rye" is still there, a permanent reminder that liquor and needles should never share a room. 27. The airport nap. That became an international incident, Denver Airport, 6 a.m. A man, still buzzed from a bachelor party, curls up on a luggage carousel, just for a nap. He wakes up 30 minutes later, in a restricted baggage zone surrounded by TSA officers and very confused Labradors. He insists he's just lost. They insist he's a national security concern. It takes 3 hours of questioning and 1 very awkward phone call to his fiancée before they release him. When asked what he learned, he said that conveyor belts are faster than Uber. Somewhere, a baggage handler still tells the story of the guy who checked himself in. 28. The pool table Olympics, Ireland. Midnight. A pub closing soon. A man bets his friends he can jump a pool table in 1 leap. "Like a stag," he declares. The crowd clears space. The music stops. He gets a running start, takes off, and soars majestically halfway. His trajectory ends in the middle of the table, snapping a leg and turning the bar into a crime scene of felt and shame. The bartender sighs, pours a last drink, and says, "Every night someone tries to fly." The man salutes her from the floor. "At least I stuck the landing." Paramedics disagree. And there you have it, 28 reasons hangovers should count as divine punishment. Which of these legends deserves a statue, or at least a warning label?